Hi everyone. Today we have with us Adam Lasnik, Google Search Evangelist. Adam is dedicated to building strong relationships between Google and our webmasters. He's here with us to attend India Search Conference. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So this is your first time visiting India.
Yeah,
How's your
actually.
experience been so far?
So it's been a whirlwind. I've already gotten to see Hyderabad, and of course now I'm in Bangalore and heading off next to Chennai. And as you mentioned, it is my first time in India ever. I've had the chance to travel to a lot of different places. And I think one thing that particularly stands out here is, it's hard to describe. It's like the energy, whether I'm on the road or in the Google office, and you can almost feel it. It's sort of an excitement in the expression and in the overall mood of the area. And then there's some other really sort of neat, noticeable things for me. I've actually gotten to try real, authentic Indian food for the first time, sometimes to the shock of my palate. And I've, of course, gotten to do a few touristy things like going to Charminar. And I also was very excited to go to a school and get to talk to some young kids. So it's been a great experience so far.
Great. Glad you enjoyed it. So let's talk about these conferences. As we know, Google attends a lot of these conferences. You yourself travel to a lot of these conferences. So could you tell us how important these conferences are and what folks who come to these conferences could possibly take away?
Yeah, sure. I think what's really exciting is that, to my knowledge, this is the first time the search quality team in India is putting on a conference and taking active part in a conference. And I think it's a great opportunity, and bound to be a great experience. Of course, I know that folks on the team here have already taken part in a number of things online, such as our user group, helping out with a blog, and so on. And I think that's really, really important, very valuable. But there's something in person that you can't get online. And I think there are things you can learn when you're talking to people face to face. You can see the body language, you can see the expressions. It's not just a matter of folks from search quality sharing information with webmasters in India and beyond, but also, I think of equal importance, learning from the webmasters. What people, what site owners in India want to see, what kind of new tools, new features, what information. And having that kind of conversation face to face, I think there's no substitute. So I'm not only looking forward to tomorrow, but also to see more of this in the future as well.
Great. So let's move on to some web mastery here. So let's say I'm a beginner webmaster. So what tips do you have to offer from Google?
So as a beginner webmaster, I think certainly by far the most important thing to keep in mind is content. And specifically, we're talking about original and compelling content. Because without that, you lack the foundation of a site that is going to do well with users and do well in Google, frankly. From there, though, there are a couple of specific tips that can really help you to get that content highlighted in Google search results. One of them people may not realize, and that's actually to optimize each page title. That's not only good to help Google understand what the page is about, but it's also what's showing up on the search listings. So when people are looking for, say, a specific restaurant menu, a lunch menu, if they see just the restaurant name in that title, that's going to be less compelling than, for instance, restaurant name, lunch menu, or restaurant name serving the greater Bangalore area, menu for lunch. The latter example here gives people a really strong idea of what they're going to get when they click on that link. There's some other things that you can do as well, not just with title tags, but also with alt tags, with images, for instance. Oftentimes, you may have a photography site, or you may have lots of charts and graphs. And helping Google understand, and also users understand what those are about, can be very helpful. And you can do that by using the alt text to say, chart demonstrating an increase in revenue 2 times the last year, etc. And the last thing I would recommend is to certainly take advantage of a lot of the information and resources in Webmaster Central. But I guess we can probably talk about more of that as we go.
Sure. So I'll be a little more specific here. Let's talk about small businesses. Say I'm a small business and I want to set up this website quickly, build and optimize it to improve my revenue and traffic, how would you suggest I go about doing that?
For a small business, okay. Then there are a couple other things you really want to keep in mind. If we assume, for instance, that you're a small business that has, say, a local presence within India, in a community or in a state in India, there is one thing you definitely don't want to overlook, and that is our free local business center. The initials for that are LBC. With that, you can actually fill out a form, I think even call a number in India, and submit your listing for LBC that says what your business is, your phone number, your address, and a few other small things. And from there, you are much more likely to show up in Google local search, and in fact in Google search on the whole. Another thing you can do along the same lines in terms of getting local and attracting local traffic and local interest would be to include your company's actual mailing address or even phone number on the bottom of the page. That's not only good for users to help them understand, this is really a local company that I can do business with, but it also helps Google understand, if someone is searching for restaurants in Hyderabad, then this may be a good site to show.
So now let's move on to websites targeting their content on, say, a specific region. So how can a webmaster associate the content of his site to a particular geographic region? How can he make sure that he's able to reach out to that audience?
Yeah, geographic targeting, and of course that's of particular interest for small businesses that are really looking to focus on traffic and an audience that is local, or it may even be traffic or audience that's in a particular country that's not where you are, but is where you're selling your product or where you want to get that traffic from. So for instance, let's say you have a .com. You can actually use Google's geo-targeting tool within Webmaster Tools to say, okay, this is a .com, but it's really intended for people in India. So you can actually select a pull-down menu that tells Google, okay, here's a hint. When you're uncertain which users to show this for and which sets of search results, give this site a little preference for people coming from India IPs. But even before you use that tool, there are actually a couple of things to keep in mind. There's two things in particular that Google uses as hints to help us determine where a website is focused regionally. One is the TLD. So for instance, if you really do want to focus on India, having that .in can be a helpful hint for Google. And then there's one other factor to keep in mind, and that is the location of your hosting. So if you really do want to target those folks in India, then it's probably helpful to you to actually use a local hosting company in India. Now, if you don't have that, if you can't get one or more of those things, let's say you have a great hosting package somewhere in the United States, don't despair. Using the other options that I've described can also give Google those good hints on where you want your audience to be coming from.